Rising X Radio, typical skeptic crew. Friday night, we're back in the booth, dropping truth bombs, igniting the proof.
Robin Coley, cosmic collision, unidentified open transmission from Area 51 to Skinwalker Ranch. Declassify the files, give truth a chance. Bass drum thumping, a sonic boom. We're breaking down the walls of every room. Skeptical minds unite tonight, underneath the stars bathed in moonlight. Truth serum flowing through the veins. Open your mind, break the chains. Question everything, challenge the norm, ride the cosmic wave, weather the storm. Truth serum flowing, take a dose, unravel the secrets, expose what's closed. Join the movement, the skeptical quest for the hidden knowledge put to the test.
Cryptids creeping in the shadows deep, ancient mysteries, secrets they keep. Bigfoot's footprints, Loch Ness's grace, unexplained phenomena, time and space.
We're chasing ghosts with EMF readers, searching for answers, cosmic leaders, digging for the truth beneath the surface. Uncover the lies with a lyrical purpose. Truth serum flowing through the veins. Open your mind, break the chains. Question everything, challenge the norm, ride the cosmic wave, weather the storm. Truth serum flowing, take a dose, unravel the secrets, expose what's closed. Join the movement, the skeptical quest for the hidden knowledge put to the test.
From Roswell crashes to ancient lore, we're exploring the unknown and so much more. Conspiracy theories, twisted and true, uncover the answers, me and you.
Truth serum flowing through the veins. Open your mind, break the chains. Question everything, challenge the norm, ride the cosmic wave, weather the storm. Truth serum flowing, take a dose, unravel the secrets, expose what's closed. Join the movement, the skeptical quest for the hidden knowledge put to the test.
SNX and typical skeptic sign off. Keep searching for truth. Turn the lights off. I'll keep them on, whatever you choose. Just keep questioning, never lose that skeptical spark, that curious fire. Explore the unknown, take it higher.
Secrets, whispers in the void, footsteps in the woods, silence destroyed. Sasquatch shadow, moonlight gleam, echoes ripple, is this a dream? Signals pulse through the cosmic stream. Truth ain't clear, or so it seems. Eyes to the skies, minds collide. What's real hides, where the unknown resides. Unraveling mysteries, the universe speaks. Hidden in the shadows, the answers we seek. Cosmic connections, truths untold. Reality bends, let the secrets unfold. Metal birds hover, glowing in the night. Gravity's broken, wrong feels right. Voices crackle from the static hum. Are they here or yet to come? Footprints in soil too big for a man. A blueprint of something beyond the plan. Dimensions twist like threads unwind. Every question sparks a curious mind. What if we're not alone? What if this world's alone? What if the truth's been known? Like gleam and no racing. Everything is this old known race. Everyone a mysteries, the unknown and what the unknown resides. Metal birds hover, glowing in the night. Gravity's broken, wrong feels right. Voices crackle from the static hum. Are they here or yet to come? Footprints in soil too big for a man. A blueprint of something beyond the plan. Dimensions twist like threads unwind. Every question sparks a curious mind. What if we're not alone? What if this world's alone? What if the truth's been known?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Truth Serum. I'm Coley from SNX Radio, and I have Rob from Typical Skeptic Podcast. Tonight, we have two very exciting special guests. As usual, I'm going to keep dropping that link live, and I'm going to hand this on over to Rob. So,
hey, everybody. Welcome to everybody on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Rumble. Glad to have you guys all here. Tonight, we have two absolute, monsters in the UFO community. I'm talking absolute legends, guys I really look up to. We have with us Peter Maxwell Slattery. He's an internationally recognized ET contact experiencer, author, filmmaker, and founder of ECETI Australia. He's documented thousands of UFO sightings and interactions, proving one of the most compelling modern archives of extraterrestrial contact. We also have the amazing James Gilliland. He's a renowned contactee, author, and founder of the ECETI Ranch in Washington State, a global hotspot for UFO sightings and spiritual awakening. With decades of firsthand experience, James has become a central figure in bridging UFO phenomena with human consciousness and spiritual growth. Together, they represent two of the most influential voices in modern UFO and disclosure movement, carrying forward decades of witness testimony, evidence, and spiritual insight. Tonight on the show, Coley and I bring you special Truth Serum podcast Powerhouse Roundtable with two giants of the UFO community. We'll dive deep into the latest UFO activity, ET contact experiences, and the consciousness connection linked behind disclosure. From the skies above ECETI to the ongoing awakening of humanity, this is a conversation you guys don't want to miss. And with all that said, I'd like to give them a big warm welcome to the show. James, Peter, thanks so much for coming on. How are you guys?
Oh, doing great. Thanks for having us on the show.
Thank you. It's good to connect again, everyone.
Yeah, it's a real honor.
Thank you.
it's wonderful to have you both back on. Yes, I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot going on, a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Peter, did you want to start off where you were talking about a little bit before the show about the levels of ETs and how it relates to the angelics and stuff like that? Was really interesting.
Yeah, well, as I say to people, even extraterrestrial intelligences still have to deal with angelic and demonic situations as well. And there are what we could say is ultra-terrestrials. Inner terrestrials is a term that I heard recently, which is a great way to put in terms of the inner Earth intelligences that are operating multidimensional that James has been going on about since the 80s. But you've also got these higher levels. So the main contacts for myself are the Elohim, which I describe as the cells of God's body, which everyone's highest expression is an Elohim. But there are also Elohim that they're creator beings, and there's councils that stay in those states that assist with the operation, we could say, of what we're experiencing in God's mind. That's just from my experience. And, yeah, I know that James was also talking about the Elohim going back to his original books in the 80s as well. And J.J. Hurtak's also a lot of information on that really resonates with what I've experienced firsthand with the Elohim as well.
That's fascinating. And James, did you want to comment on that? Because you're able to do amazing things and you've been in the community for a long time. But where do you see the disclosure movement headed towards? And do you see us having contact soon?
I think it's undeniable. It's funny because, Peter and I are probably the most censored people in the UFO community, and we have the best evidence. And the undeniable contact, and it's been, plus he said he's got a 40-year track record of bringing the ships in and having people come to the ranch and seeing them for themselves. And we have PhD Boeing engineers and Lockheed Skunk Works people and pilots and air traffic controls they all went on record, and said, yeah, these ships are here. We don't know who they are, but they're way beyond our technology. But what I think with this C1 Atlas coming in, and there's a lot of people going to have egg on their face on that one, but the ship coming in, it's definitely a ship. It's making course corrections, and there's periodically it's doing bursts, of light and changing shapes and getting bigger and all kinds of things. So it's definitely a ship. Now I know Peter and I both. We did some remote viewing and tuned into it and looked into it. And what we got was, it was a very old group called the Ahians. They were the ones that created the ancient tunnels here on Earth, and they left. They had the glass-lined tunnels, and millions and millions of years ago. But they left, and they're returning. But they're kind of they're not. People go, are they benevolent? And I said, well, they're more like ambivalent. They're watchers. They're watching. They're just observing. They're gathering data. They're seeing what we're doing down here and checking things out. And I don't think we have a very good scorecard, to be honest with you. But the ones behind that, the other ship that's like, I think it's 200 times bigger and 400 times brighter. I asked, what kind of a ship is that? And they said Mahar. And those are feline beings. And I'll let Peter talk about that too. And they told me there was 8 different races on that ship, and they're coming to help. And they're benevolent, and they're here to assist in this big shift we're going through. And I know Peter's got some more information on that, so I'll let Peter go. But there's a whole fleet coming behind that, and they don't know what to do. They've got them on the James Webb Telescope, and they've got them on NASA's tracking them. You can't, whatever NASA says, it's never a straight answer. So trust that.
Agree.
Yeah. But 100%. Peter, talk about what you got.
Yeah, so what I did was I had a remote viewing workshop here at the sanctuary a few weeks ago, and I actually put the Atlas down as a target as soon as I heard about it. But at that time, I think it was just before it, I actually, through a technique that James taught me with the table tipping with a couple of friends here, I actually got that there was 3 ships coming in. And then after that, I found out that there's these 3 comets coming in. So I stayed detached from the situation, and I got the remote viewers to look into it to start off with, the training remote viewers, though half of them that were involved were actually already acquainted with it. Now, why I did this is because I've been doing remote viewing the Stargate project way for many years, though I don't need the paper. I've got my own technique as well. But I tend to find that people that are innocently getting into remote viewing when they're starting out, specifically with the Stargate method, they're really correct. They might not be 100%, but they're getting like the foundation of the information because they're really innocent to what's going on. So they tend to hit a lot more, and then they go into a down patch if they keep up with it before they elevate again. So we did get that this is a vehicle, that it's definitely an object. And going on from that, hearing even John Vivanka, he was saying the same. So where this gets even more interesting is it happened just before we started this show with James saying that he got in contact with the group or got information that there was a group called the Mahar. Now, I've been writing and talking about this group going back quite a number of years. The ones that I'm in contact with predominantly from this group are from Sirius, and they're black, they're melanin dominant. But when you go into the Sirius factions, there's blue humanoids there's feline intelligences, there's lion being intelligences, there's aquatic intelligences. So that I just find is interesting from the perspective of James brings that up. And look, the other thing is too, me and James have done, like I've worked with over 5,000 people in terms of appointments. And what's interesting is that me and James we hang out, we've got our own contacts, we've got the same contacts as well in some cases, but the amount of times that clients that have come to me that have also gone to James and said, you and James got the same being, the same race, whatever, that isn't in the public domain is really good for me and James in terms of confidence of hits, because me and James we don't talk out of school with people that we're helping and talk about their guides, this, that, the other. So it's really good to know that we're getting these hits with each other when we're across the pond from each other, but also we're not talking about some of this stuff.
Yeah, it is funny how that does. It definitely cross-checks, and I always tell people validation never gets old, in this line of work, because you're constantly being invalidated by social consciousness and all the other nonsense going out there. But, when you have two separate people getting the exact same information, same spelling, everything, same guide, same teachers. You know, it definitely validates the information.
Absolutely. With that confirmation makes all the difference in the world, whether or not you know something for yourself, but just that confirmation in between the two of you. So do you often, I guess, get things and then you'll contact Peter and say, hey, or how do you guys check back to back on that? That's awesome. That really is.
Yeah. We both ask, you know, we both ask each other, hey, could you look into this and see what you get? And we already kind of have our own information. And then I'll ask Peter, hey, check into this. Sometimes we're both under heavy attack. I mean, there's a lot of unseen negative influences coming in and trying to shut this information down. And I go, are you getting hammered today? And he goes, yeah, me too. And I look into it, and then he looks into it, and we find out the same information. You know, it's the same group. It could be like reptilian. It could be like tall grays. It could be demonic type energies, witchcraft. Who knows? I mean, we're always getting hit by that nonsense and clearing it out. But there's other things that, you know, we cross-check with each other to make sure we're on target, you know, and it's, I don't know once we haven't been in agreement, you know, yet.
Yeah. It's even with like, we'll get information of time, direction, the race that will come through. And we've done this for a television show as well. And I've done it 3 times worldwide for different TV crews, and it's never shown that aspect. I'll just show a little tiny dot. But when you've got us not cross-correlating again, doing it absolutely blind from what each other got, and you're getting that same information. Even when we recently did a workshop together in the United States at ECETI Ranch, there was it just goes absolutely off every time as well. And James has stayed in Australia for a number of months as well in the past. And same thing. Like just the contacts there, we've got the evidence, you know, we've got the confirmation, and so a lot of this is broad daylight as well. It's not just like a nighttime thing. It's an energetic thing. People either get inner visions or they physically see these intelligences. Both James and I, in broad daylight, have said when and where the crafts will appear, both there and here as well. So, and that's on camera and documented numerous amounts of times, especially in Contact Has Begun Too, which is the second film on James covering the in-depth contact that he's having over there as well.
Yeah, we've had some funny things happen. Like we have the knock on the door. I walk out with a laser, and Peter's filming, and I take a laser and I shoot at the door on Mount Adams. There's this massive light door, and ships come out of it. And I go knock with the laser, and this thing goes kaboom and explodes to a big blue-green light, you know. And when, you know, I'll be playing around, a ship will come over, and I'll take the laser and I'll draw a line in front of it. And I'll go, if you don't power up, you know, get out of my sky. Just joking around, having fun. And the thing powers up, you know. And Peter got some amazing footage of the door opening and actually ships flying out of the door. God, some of the things, you know, Peter's the best at daylight sightings. He has a lot more daylight stuff than we do. And what was that one thing, that giant light worm thing that you got?
It's just, I think part of it's being the portal area that James has got as well, that really is the caretaker and holding that space of that area. But you don't just have like light beings or nature spirits and extraterrestrials. You've got a lot of stuff that's very ancient that's in that area. Everything from like pterodactyl type birds to like, it's like sky worms. It's more like a worm than what we'd describe as what the Yabanis are, which are known in Mexico, these huge things that are like sort of conglomerates or like clusters of orbs. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there was one time we got the sky worm as well, and that was broad daylight with like I think 8 of us on the lawn, and it was bigger than James's house, the main house on the ranch. This thing was absolutely huge. So it's a crazy area, especially once you hear the stories and that, and talk to some of the locals around James, some of them law enforcement and just the average people, and people have just seen absolutely crazy stuff over there as well. Yeah.
Both of our houses, when I stayed at your house, it was so busy, and there was everything to the wispies, these light beings cruising through, and all these other things happening. And then I go, hey, 5:00, they're coming in. I'd get that message. We go out, and sure enough, ship right over the house. And I know when you're at the ranch, you got a beautiful photograph of Kuan Yin appearing, almost physical. And he, that other spirit, that he looks like a cross between Spock and Merlin, basically. I don't know. And then the Lyrian, you got a beautiful picture of a Lyrian being appearing. So that's the thing, is we have photographs of the beings themselves. We know them by name. We've been interacting with them for a long time. I don't know, Peter, how long have you been doing? You've been interacting with pretty much all your life.
Yeah, it's mainly been the last 15 years on a very strong, coherent level, but it's been on and off since at least 7. There's a couple of things before then, like yourself, but it's vivid but vague what it actually is. Like you had with Mary when you were young, and many years of contact between the both of us. Yeah.
But I think what's odd is that, we redundantly have given the exact time and date of the ships and where they would appear. And we have photographs of the beings themselves. We have feline beings, every kind of being. I even have photographs of these ones that look just like E.T. in the movie, identical. They're wearing robes, or the ancient ones. They're very ancient. And, we have all the evidence, and it's ongoing at both of our places. But disclosure, what we have is a fuzzy Tic Tac that's actually a Lockheed ship, that fuzzy Tic Tac that's everybody's raving over. All they got is a fuzzy Tic Tac and a few other things. But I mean, Anna Paulina Luna, I think is her name. She's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And asking the right questions. Like she's asking, okay, are these things interdimensional? Could they be spiritually and technologically advanced beings? Could they be here to help? And they just squirm when she asks those questions, because that's a big no-no. You'll get kicked out of all the conferences, out of their controlled narratives. They will take you off the air when you start talking about the spiritually and technologically advanced ones that are here to help. And so it's sad that they're not covering that, but we're going to be needing their help in the very near future because of upcoming events. And I really hope she keeps holding their feet to the fire, because it's not just nuts and bolts, and it's not just these Peter's saying it too. These people come out, there's conspiracy shows. We all know who they are, and they come out and they cover. And they censor me totally out of it. I give them the whole information. They censor me out of it totally. And the last one was an ancient one about aliens. I won't mention their name, but they censor me out of the whole thing. Came to the ranch and they missed everything. They missed the ships when we said they'd come and everything. And the only thing they showed was me grabbing a camera, my hand, and that's it. That was the only appearance I had in there. And they were given orders on high to cut me out of it. I knew they had that. They were given orders because of certain things. But it was just crazy watching that. But with the remote viewers there, with John Vivanco and Peter, and we all gave the exact time when the ships would appear. We remote viewed some of the ships that came over and knew they were just satellites and technology, and that was all confirmed. But some of the ships had these beautiful angelic beings on them. And those are the ones that we gave the exact time when they would show up. And so there's a lot of censorship. There's a lot of controlled narrative in there. And it's kind of sad, but we got to get past all that nonsense.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, James, or Peter, both of you emphasize that consciousness is like the real key to contact. Do you feel that's how you're having contact? Is it them reacting to your frequency? And that's why you guys get them to show up? Is it the person, or is it their frequency?
It's really all about me. No, I'm just kidding. There's so many people that are saying it's all about them, and it's not. But it is those who have risen to the occasion and those who have raised their frequency, and those are the ones that are being contacted, basically. And I've had people come out to the ranch, and we won't mention one guy. He's a doctor, and he said the only reason ships are coming here is because he's here. And I go, they've been coming here for 500 years that we know about, according to the Native Americans and their testimony. And And I was guided here because it's a hot spot, but I came to create a healing center, process-oriented therapies and things, live close to the land and things like that. But I didn't come for the ships, but I realized later I was guided there by the ships to come and put this place together. But, anybody can make contact. All you need is an open mind, a loving heart, and pure intent. Go out, on a clear sky and at night and, say a little prayer and qualify it and just say, I really want to find out, who you are, are these ships here? Do I have a connection to them? And qualify it, tell them you want benevolent contact only and do a little clearing prayer. Peter and I both teach making sacred space first, clearing your space, and see what happens. And you'll get a contact and you'll feel it when they do contact you. You'll feel the energy exchange. And if you don't like what you're feeling, do a healing, clear. Yeah. If it feels negative, clear out, there are unseen negative influences out there. So you have to keep your space clear to bring in clear information. A lot of people are channeling information from the lower astral level or their own subconscious, and they haven't created sacred space. They haven't done the proper clearing. So that's why you're getting so much misinformation out there right now.
That's a good point. Coley, did you want to go?
Uh-oh.
I didn't realize that myself, so I apologize. Yes, no, I was just saying that that's really important, and James has talked about that kind of before on the clearings and how important that they are. And he actually did a clearing for me, and I don't know if I ever got a chance, but I'm just going to say real quickly, I was driving back with my child, and I remember all these issues started riling up, and I had no idea what was going on. And I got back, and James said, "Hey, give me a call." And then I looked in here, I called, and he was nailing things. There is no possible way that he would have been able to have known any of these things. And I was and then he even said, "Do you see that?" And I was just simultaneously, I could see all of the, if you're a medium, what it looks like energy to me, those. And I could. And I said, "This is the best clearing," I've never had anyone able to do the things that James was able to do. So I just wanted to throw that out there that I couldn't, there's no words to how impressed and furthermore, I guess even putting the information that he and Peter both, anytime I have asked, hey, James has released evidence. He's released the pictures and the videos of craft going overhead of times. And even so much as, if you watch it in the previous shows, you'll see all of that there. So I've looked at Peter's stuff. They hold the utmost integrity in all of this, and it's you guys have to check into their work, give them, it's just in the ego too. They're just, they don't even take, I think it's absolutely brilliant and phenomenal. And James is it's not me, it's, and he really puts things into perspective. So I guess, in a long-winded, definitely check into their work. Into their work.
Yeah, be careful. They do have a bad sense of humor. So don't take anything personally.
I do too. It's terrible, but you're wonderful. You both are absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you guys, we hear a lot of different stuff about, the reptilians and what their agenda is, and the grays and stuff, and then some of the positive beings and what their agenda is. But what do you guys think we're dealing with as far as the real ET agenda? Be both positive and negative entities. What do you think we're encountering as far as?
Go ahead, Peter.
It depends on what level you're coming at this from. If you're coming at it from the highest levels, you're going to see there's no good or bad, that everything's one consciousness interfacing with itself. But it's once you get out of that, and we could say into the lower states and the realms that we're operating, we're experiencing, it's very much a duality type thing. Even something that's good, it's got a little bit of bad, or something that's bad, it's got a little bit of good. And it really is a soul evolutionary process, but it comes down to, it comes back really to the Elohim in the way that I described it. You've got this intelligence that is the cells of God, and then because we go fractal out from that like a spider web, imagine the core of the spider web is the higher self and it goes fractal out. there are intelligences that have gone from their Elohim self out and wanted to stay out. And these are the creators of what is generally termed of as the AI, which is a distorted form of frequency that is not harmonic or resonant with source. Now, because of this, they are behind a veil that are using what I describe as some reptilian forces as foot soldiers, which are highly psychic, highly manipulative psychic abilities the reptilians have. But it's all under the guise of bringing things into a lower vibratorial state to harvest that energy for this AI, which really is just a function for the fallen Elohim. But then you've also got different forms of grey intelligences. Now, there are some greys that I've come across that aren't actually grey, but they are either neutral or they're not too bad. But predominantly, you're dealing with, we could say, programmed life forms or extremely lower vibratorial states of consciousness that are appearing in these grey forms. This is what's commonly referred, but we've got to remember that not everything, like when you say grey, it's like which type. I remember talking to Mary Rodwell one time, and she knew somebody that knew over 100 species of different types of greys, and you're talking about 100 different types of agendas. Mm-hmm. But on the opposing end, you've got angelic, celestial intelligences, those that have ascended the many worlds, everyone from Yeshua, Jesus, to the House of Mary that James talks about and we've experienced with the Marys, Kuan Yin, different goddess energies throughout many different star systems. And what's happening is we're going through a process where this AI with the fallen ones have stunted many worlds that eventually, if we look at the stars, which is our sun, as a neuron network, when these pulse and they flare to a certain extent, it actually inerts and neutralizes the AI. So this is all part of a cycle that is going to be a reset in that state anyway. But it's really also a state of soul evolution that many beings are here at this time to help elevate the Earth human experience from within. And also, as James does talk about, is that most of these extraterrestrials in our neck of the woods, I would say they're either our ancient ancestors, but there are also some that are our future offspring. The confusing part with this, if I haven't confused you already, is the temporal, the time dilation aspect of what's going on. But once, like I say, the ETs and us are the bottom 5%, and the angelics would be right up the top before you hit source. There's another 90% of things and realms and thought form realms and intelligences that are inoperational, that are outside of the frequency, but yet we can tap into them if we want to. But really, this all comes down to partly human potentiality in the human experience that we're experiencing now. And many of us are here to help humans get back into their own sovereign self and assist with clearing that and getting in that energy. And part of this is also soul evolution as well. I know that's sort of like, that's the thumbnail sketch, because really I could, I've done 13 books that really cover different aspects of what you're saying. And it's not a black and white answer to that, if that makes sense, Rob.
Yeah. I'd like to cover a little bit of that. Down to basics. There are definitely reptilian energies that Peter talked about. And there's some tall grays that can be really nasty. And then there's 57 varieties or more than that of, we call it the Heinz 57. It's a real gray area. But that's going on too. And then you got kind of demonic type energies, astral beings, you've got the jinn. A lot of this is a really old problem. And there are some really old solutions to it. And the main thing is creating sacred space, learning how to heal unseen negative influences. Also align yourself with universal law, which is universal peace, brother, sisterly love, individual freedom, and prosperity for all. And use that as a template or to discern with whether or not you're aligned with the highest and best good of humanity and the earth or yourself. And so that's the way out, basically. And if you're disempowering others, taking advantage of others, If you're harming others, you're definitely outside of universal law. If you're capitalizing at the expense of humanity, the earth, you're definitely outside of universal law. And unfortunately, most of the planet is doing that right now. But all that energy and everything's going to be amplified and returned to source, basically. So, some people call it karma, action, reaction. All that's being accelerated and amplified right now. So those that are participating in that game are not going to be frequency specific to the ascension of Earth. And the Earth is ascending, and that's what all these ships are coming in now to help us with that process. And we don't really have to worry too much about the ones coming in. It's the ones that have been here. Yeah. And they're being they're being I don't want to say evacuated. They're being or exterminated, but a little both is going on. They're being removed, put it that way, by the benevolent ones. And the white hats are involved in this, and Space Force and the federations and the councils. They're all involved in cleaning up the multidimensional problem here on Earth.
I agree. That's really well said. Yeah. So, do you believe that the benevolent ETs have a plan for experiencers?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's partly. We could say that some are spies in a way, and this can be of positive from a positive aspect, but also negative, depending on who and what. But also, as I say to people, everyone watching this right now that's into this, that's been into it, that are experiences to an extent, even if it seems very minimal to everyone, you are guides in physical form, that when this unveils, you will be the person that those in your circle, family, friends, what have you, you're the one that they'll be coming to get a heads up on certain things. They will have many questions. So we're here to assist people with an integration process, but it's also about us being sovereign beings as we elevate within the galactic neighborhood as well, not losing the human way. And I will say here that we need to give ourselves more credit. Now, in terms of the word that's becoming fashionable now, psionics, it's actually an old term. But it's like I say, like the old 60s clothing with the flares. Every 30 years, clothing becomes popular again from a different generation. Well, we're in a situation of the word psionic, which is basically psychic, is being used again. But there are psionic assets. Now, I've even destroyed crafts. I've overtaken crafts before. We've heard about this in recent times with Skywatcher and what have you. Why I'm actually bringing this up is the following. Just because something's ET doesn't mean that it's any better than us. There are certain humans, just like there's certain ETs, that have great psionic capabilities. So if we had a craft that's run through consciousness, it might have an AI aspect as well. A extraterrestrial that's great psionically can overtake that craft, just like if there's beings like us that are great psychically to a certain extent. You can get past the safeguards and everything because everything's consciousness interfacing with itself and override it. Now, it's up to us what we do with these capabilities, but these are a glimpse, what we could say the ascension abilities of levitation, telekinesis, manipulation of matter. The list goes on. These are natural abilities that when our brain's operating at 75% like it is now, they seem magical, but they're actually not. And you need to be in a certain space when you unlock these capabilities because you wouldn't do harmful things with them, which is part of the granting and the access and the connection to these abilities. And so it's something that we are looked up to in the universe more than what we think, even though we're going through a huge time here of shifting consciousness with the stuff that's going on. We just need to watch the news, not just the last few weeks, but ever since news existed, the way we treat each other. But there's huge human potentiality there as well that I just want to be a reminder for people.
Yeah, I just did a newsletter and a show. Actually, I talked about it on my show. We talk about this as a very old problem. It goes all the way back to the ancient Anunnaki, like 450,000 years ago. And we've always had people coming to the planet to empower people to make their own personal connection, with God, Creator, Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it, and also learn how to, critical thinking and how to know whether things are true or not, and learning inner sensitivity and discernment. And this goes back, to the negative influences that came in during the Anunnaki when they were here and they got into their turf wars. It goes into Atlantis and Lemuria, where they fell. They got into turf wars, mainly because of these unseen negative influences that were coming in and messing with them. And, you really think about Socrates. Socrates was killed by the Democratic Party, of the time. And so was Caesar. And, they're all talking about empowering the people, giving funds back to the people, they were paying off their rents and things like that way back then. And they got assassinated, So these things that are going on right now, it's a very, very old problem, these divisionary energies that are happening, left, right, mega, whatever. I always tell people the higher ETs are mega. They're make Earth great again. That's what they're all about. And we were great. We had amazing technologies. The stuff underneath the pyramid, the ancient temples, the stone temples, all of that stuff shows a tremendous advanced culture was here. And we still have technology today in Russia. We have planetary protecting technology that's still operational. And if a massive meteor or something comes in, these things gear up and knock them out and take them out or deflect them. We had one in the United States too, but we took it apart and turned it into a weapon. We should have left it operational, left it going. But we have those technologies. And in the days of Atlantis and Lemuria, the Atlanteans went off track and they went into technology and power over others and went on that track, and the Lemurians were saying, hey, you're off track. You're going against universal law, or the law of one, what they called it back then. And so the Atlanteans took beam weapons over there in ships and melted down their cities, which are the glass underneath the Gobi Desert right now. It's still there today. But we've had this back and forth thing where we've divided. We've allowed these divisionary forces to come in and unseen negative energies and elements and divide the people, create a war. And these other entities live off of that energy. They feed off of that, the pain and the suffering and the loss and all of that. And so this is a very old problem that we're dealing with, and now the benevolent beings are coming back, and the multidimensional beings, the source itself, and they're acting through the suns, which are all connected to the great central sun, and we're just getting hammered right now with solar flares, coronal mass ejections, solar weathers coming in. It's increasing the bioelectric fields around the body. It's forcing us to process what the old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions, and it's creating severe weather and an increase in earthquake and volcanic activity. So the earth is expanding. We're expanding. Everything is in a growth cycle right now, and it's massive. I mean, it's a very, everything's turned up. And so again, we got to go within and make our own personal connection with Creator. And a lot of these entities, we all live in a unified field of consciousness and energy. And a lot of them are just pulling more out of that field. And a lot of us aren't aware that we can do the same thing. And some ETs are totally mentally and technologically advanced, but spiritually backwards. And there's some that are extremely spiritually advanced and technologically advanced, and they're returning to help us now, so we don't do the same thing over and over again. So we really have to know our history and know the common patterns so we don't repeat them. And that's what we're going through right now.
That's well said. Sorry, Coley, go ahead. You're muted.
Thank you, Microsoft.
Your mic's off,
Say
Coley.
yeah. Oh, Peter. Yeah, I don't know why it keeps bumping off because usually I turn this one on. It doesn't do that. But anyway, I was going to say that it seems like karma has really sped up, James. Like it's like almost instantaneous that it happens. And then can you kind of, do you know, I mean, I know that you and Peter kind of talked about, or I guess Peter kind of hit on the time dilation before. I was wondering if you could explain to people like what you guys are talking about when you talk about like the time dilation and things like that.
Yeah, there are time folds going on. The Pleiadians are heavily involved in the time folds. And right when you feel everything's going to go to hell, you think we're going to drop the nuclear war and everything, you know, you feel this energy and all of a sudden it just goes away. It shifts and you feel this really heavy energy and all of a sudden it's gone. You go, what happened? And they folded time and they got us past that event. And they're doing that over and over again. And they were doing it about every 3 or 4 days for a while. I haven't checked into it again, but and then Peter, I'll let you talk about the temporal wars going on because there are time travelers and that's affecting us too. So I'll let Peter take that one.
Yeah, it just depends on what level we're coming at this with, because in a way, we've got a replication of as above, so below. So we've had the Lyran Wars, which is where the first fallen ones started their situation in this neck of the woods. But we've got to also remember it has also happened in other galaxies before our galaxy and still continuing on to where that was a war between the fallen ones, reptilian intelligences, that network against humans, Anunnaki at that time, where there is both positive and negative factions of that. And the positive ones actually ascended to higher states of consciousness. And the ones that the lower vibratorial state are sort of closer to us more. This offshooted over to the Orion Wars as well and has also gone throughout other sectors. But when you're coming at things from this perspective, technology plays a big part. That even getting back into the psionic thing just for a minute, in some cases where you've got consciousness assisted technology, you're connecting to a craft that extends your consciousness, but in other cases you are the technology, and we could say the craft or whatever is just extension of little things that you're going to get to do menial jobs. Then you go into the Merkaba light vehicle chariot. If you change chariot in the Bible and go at times, if it's talking about certain sky situations or beings, they're actually in a Merkaba, which is their chariot throne, which also ties into the rainbow body. When they go from the Merkaba into the rainbow body, they dissolve and they reappear, which Namkai Norbu, as I speak about, a Tibetan Dzogchen master that transitioned a few years ago, talked about this technique being taught in 13 star systems. Now, when you're operating in a level that you can dissolve from physical form into nothingness and reappear, you can also get into the different aspects of timelines and even create realms at that level. But we've got a situation where the original grids that were crystalline pyramids that I've been talking about for nearly 15 years, these are the Elohim, very similar to what we see in Egypt, but not. This is different. These are crystalline pyramids that actually are being and will be found. I think Mars is pointing to this, but they're going to find that there's a crystalline pyramid network that goes throughout not just this galaxy, but the universe. Then there is the Fallen Ones grid, which is connected to certain things like towns, shopping malls, religious facilities. Why is it that we go to a lot of towns and you see obelisks that are dedicated to a world war, World War I, World War II? You see this all around Australia. I see it in America. There's these obelisks that just, you look at it and it's in plain sight. But the roads harvest our energy into this grid. So you've got this grid that harvests lower vibratorial energy that feeds the AI. And then what you've got is the positive grid that originally and still is at play. But when you're in a lower vibratorial state, you're going to resonate more with this other grid. And we're here to connect consciously to where we rise above this grid that's going on through a conscious grid and basically make the Fallen Ones grid inert. Because what they're trying to do is keep us in a fallen timeline, in a timeline that they control, that they, through their consciousness-assisted technology, control where and how things are done, which is why they knew thousands of years ago where we would be today in terms of technology and how to manipulate that. So there's different types of technologies being at play here with different beings that are controlling these technologies. But this is why when you connect to the divine through the heart space, which is the core of the light body, enough of us we can override any of this, which is what the Pleiadians are assisting with, along with many others, especially as we're going into this time of compression to where the energies are coming in. And it's just like filling up a jug. It gets to a point that it's going to start to overflow. So what's happening is what's overflowing is the lower vibratorial states of energy, the wrong conclusions, the judgments, all the crap, also epigenetically. And we're basically going through a form of an energetic purging, whether we're ready for it or not. It's just, this is happening no matter what people think.
Wow, that's so... I get that was a lot, Peter.
You're not having an aneurysm.
That was amazing, though. I was like, James,
feel everybody's head's about ready to explode. You know, it's like
my head's ready to explode.
Wow, and that was, sad, I guess, and for the rest of us that are not as savvy as what you are with all that, that was a profound amount of information. I think I would have to just rewind and go back and listen through, because you just blew my mind right there, Peter. You really did. That was impressive.
There's crystalline grids throughout the whole earth. Everything on the earth is a crystal. Sand is a crystal. Water is a crystal. People don't realize, how crystalline, and we're moving into more of a crystalline body eventually. And we have to realize, that these things are changing. When I was at Contact in the Desert, we went out to Giant Rock, and I was out there and I went, oh my God, there's these big crystal veins there going out everywhere, and so we sat where they converged. And then I found out that this was a sacred place where all the Native Americans elders used to gather at this one place. And I go, I know why they gathered here and did their ceremonies, because of the merging of these big crystalline grids, and they're physical. They're not, you can see the big crystal veins right on coming out of the ground. And so we did a little ceremony there, and we did a thing where we released any ancestors, anybody that needed clearing or healing. And then we actually had a woman there that was photographing it. And she started photographing, and we were all phasing out. You could see right through us. We were going in and out of existence. You could see an Andromedan ship above us. A huge Andromedan ship came in above us. There's other ships flying across the desert. It was crazy. We were higher than a kite. And you see all these swirls of energy coming up from the ground surrounding us. And it was all documented. And these things are real. These places are real. The elders know about them. And if you want to know about, our ancestors, our star nations, and we need to start talking to the elders. The Aboriginal elders, they all talk about the Pleiades. The Cherokee point at the Pleiades. The Dakota Sioux, all of them talk about the Pleiades, and even the shamans in the Philippines. And so the Hawaiians here, you ask them where you came from originally, and they point at the Pleiades, and then they said, we actually came from the Pleiades. We colonized Australia and Africa, and then we started island hopping to get to here. And it's in all the ancient stories, if we listen to them, that we're a series of colonies here. We're a series of star nations that set up their colonies and got taken out by wars and great cataclysms and pole shifts and things like that. And everybody had to start over again. And now the ancient ones are returning, and that's what you're seeing with C1 Atlas and these other massive Mahar ships and these other ones. They're all returning now to help us through this shift.
So how do you see this happen? Like with, I guess, really cool. And what's coming on with the general public? It's not that I worry about any of us that are up here on this panel. Yeah. I'm concerned at how the general public is going to respond to all this.
The muggles. Yeah, the muggles doesn't have a real problem.
But, Lord.
Here's my message to the church, basically the God-fearing Christians. But, you should stop fearing God, because God is pure, unconditional love and joy and bliss. And it's within everyone. It's not external. And as I was saying, the people that became one with God, they became one with the unified field that we're all part of. And it's multidimensional. And God is multidimensional. There's many mansions, it's the unified field in which we all exist. It's the one consciousness that encompasses all consciousness and all planes and dimensions throughout the multiverse. And so we need to stop being sucked into these external gods and these jealous, wrathful gods and these images of the past, and which ties into I was trying to stay away from the Charlie Kirk thing, but I think it's awesome that they're really talking about the family, about people making their own God connection, and that people need to start being kind to each other and being more tolerant and forgiving. That's awesome. All that is awesome. There's one little thing I might recommend. That is that make your own personal connection with God, make your own contact with these spiritual and technologically advanced beings. Make your own contact with the masters, beautiful many servants thereof, whatever you want to call them, Yeshua ben Joseph, which is Jesus' real name, or, Baba Ji or Mary or Kuan Yin or whatever. All the cultures have their own masters that came here to help. And we need to stop the division game, the culture and religious programs and all these division games, because we all came from the same source and we're all family. And we have to come to terms with that. And there's a greater family of man that's returning. And some of them are very different and some are just like us.
You can't just assume somebody's good or somebody is bad. I mean, you have to know all ends of it.
It's character. It's action and character. It's people's actions, establish their character basically. And that's what we have to go back to. It doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you are, or anything else. It's your actions. And if you're dividing and judging and condemning others and all this other stuff because you don't use the right name of the bearded gods of old,
right?
You're not. That's not a Christian program. It's ungodly basically if you're doing this division game.
I like that. And James, you've said this time and time again when you've been on the show too, intention, somebody's intention, setting your intention, like where you're coming and active. And that's so true. That is so true.
Yeah. And intention is the director of everything. If you tend to do harm on others and take advantage of others and everything else, well, there's going to be a blowback to that. And that's all, like you said, it's all being amplified right now and accelerated. So if you intend to be, I tell people, they go, this is way beyond my pay grade. I don't understand any of this and everything else. And I said, just be a good person.
Yeah.
But that's all you got to do. Just be kind to each other and the planet. You don't have to understand all this stuff, and trust your heart. Make your own personal connection with God, Creator, Great Spirit. Trust your heart. And when you're screwing up, and when you're doing things that are harmful to humanity and nature, and just stop doing it. That's what Jesus said, go and sin no more. He goes, neither do I judge you, nor does the Father judge me, because God can't judge. It's beyond that. But he's saying, go and sin no more. He's saying, quit screwing up. Quit going against universal law. Because there's going to be a reaction to that action. And, and so, I mean, basically that's what he's saying. Sin's just an archery term. It means you missed the target. And hell is a garbage dump where they burned all the trash. And if you didn't have enough money to be buried properly, you were thrown on the garbage pit and burned along with the rest of it. So, there are, in lower 4D, there is an area where bad people go, and people of like mind go, and they're magnetically attracted by their fields of energy. And so your consciousness determines where you go. And so there are places for those people where others of like mind all gather, and it's It's in the lower fourth dimension. They call it the astral level, and the lower astral level, where they get to hang out with those of like mind and reptilians and grays and a lot of nasty things that aren't even human. You know, they can go play on that level if they need to, but the game on Earth is over. It's coming to an end.
I agree with you there. We've gone on like this for far too long. It's got to be catching up with us soon.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
I know.
I call it the rubber band effect. It pulls back and it swings the other way. But it's also a reminder that, and a lot of people just don't get it, even in the spiritual community, and it's in no way belittling people, but these lower energies, they overshadow people to where even, I'm sure many people have experienced, friends and family that don't look like them momentarily, they're still them as a human, but they say, they act, they do something that they wouldn't do in a million years. And this is, again, because these energies can overshadow, and they don't have human interests in their heart whatsoever. You're basically dealing with something that's not human. That's the thing. You're dealing with something that is not human, and because that, you will not get it. But if you're aware of it, now you've got knowledge of it, well, then is implementing it now, getting to the wisdom, which is being proactive with that, whether through prayers, clearings, getting yourself out of certain situations, knowing through the heart of something not feeling right, of getting out of that situation. But we are on the precipice of the ascension age, and really it's a individual but also group collective thing, and it's not just us. Even here at the sanctuary last weekend, we had the whole group experience the Yorta tribe, which is the Aboriginal tribe in the area. We've also got other intelligences and spirits that are living around here. Some are ultra-terrestrial, some are what we could say is past humans that, they call in and out. There's different masters, but then you've got the extraterrestrial component as well as the angelic component as well. And a lot of these energies, besides the angelics, because they can even go fractal out and experience the many mansions, not just humans, what's residing around us, it's going to get an opportunity to elevate to their next level as well in the cases for them, if that's what they want to be a part of as well. But either way, we could say that there's an ascension that's going to happen either way, whether it's, getting to the realms of light, whether it's just shedding this frequency and going to a new frequency where people are living in harmony. It's going to be slightly different for each person, but there's more than what meets the eye that, most people are aware of, even within the spiritual community. And it doesn't mean me and James know it all, but because we're not looking at things just from this perspective or that perspective, and we've gone through a lot in our own ways, you start to see that a lot of it's tied together, and there's a lot more available to us, not just in terms of other intelligences, but even our own resources and abilities.
Yeah, I love the saying about the human. They said there's so much inhumanity on Earth because of non-human interference. And until you factor that in, you're not going to understand what's really going on, because there are beings that are at war with the Creator in all creation, basically here. They don't like Creator or any representation of Creator. And they are being taken care of. They've got their eviction notices, and they're being taken out right now. And we can all participate in that. The God within us we can activate that and bring that love and joy and bliss down and out through our hearts and into every situation. And love's the ultimate power in the universe. And when you can channel that energy into every situation, it just changes the game. It's a big game changer. But we forget. We don't know we have the ability to do that.
I agree. Peter, I'm going to ask you, do you think people will actually experience ascension symptoms? Do you buy into that? Do you think that's or is it someone's own personal journey that they're
there's a group collective component to this. Now, whether people go full on rainbow body or even attain their Merkaba, which I believe we've all got sitting there, and it can be a physical thing as well as a astral or etheric. He's got multiple dimensional aspects as well. But writing about in the books, we could even say, and it ties in with some of Dolores Cannon stuff, if you even look at the shift symptoms, which are signs of the ascension symptoms, some of these are very much the same as what we could say is Wi-Fi radiation being affected by 5G and different things. But what's happening is the body's dealing with a frequency change. It doesn't mean that it's the same thing, but you're going to get very similar symptoms. And it comes down to what James was saying before, and I'll give the analogy of this, and you guys being Americans might remember this show. There was a show called Ghost Hunters Taps, where you had Jason and Grant, the plumbers, right? Now, why I'm bringing this up is great show, great guys. Not only are they doing clearings, but they had a really cool show in this this aspect, which is more so in America, you've got basements. Now, in some cases, people can get paranoid, hallucinate, feel sick, feel like they're being watched. And what it is when they go into a basement, if it's got the power box down there and it's not shielded well or bad wiring, they call it a fear cage. They're being affected by the EMF, the electromagnetic field. Now let's take this from a basement to the entire globe. When you get a huge CME, that energy is affecting us, and you'll get people being clumsy, having outbreaks, not feeling themselves, even having to lay down, all the exact same thing. And this is science. We're not educated on it, but we're in solar maximum right now. And I forget the gentleman, but Tony Robbins one time, going back a few years, he brought up this gentleman where this guy was saying basically we go through, most likely from the science of what he could go through, every solar maximum we go through economic turmoil, wars, upheaval, then you go into solar minimum and things start to chill out a bit. And we're in a solar maximum right now. We're way past due for a Carrington type event. And these things are affecting our bodies. So these frequencies are not harmonic, what I'd say resonant with the full-blown ascension. But it comes down to what's ascension for each person. We've got a level where the whole human race has an opportunity to elevate either way. It might be that we're not all holding hands in kumbaya, but what was once a mystery may not be so much a mystery, and the revelation of not just angelic or extraterrestrial intelligences, but a whole lot more can be revealed, which sort of gets us together on the same page somewhat, realizing we're not alone, that a lot of what we could say we're looking at from different perspectives is real in terms of God and the angels, or gods, whatever people want to term that. But there will be these pockets of civilizations and people that will go into states where they may be in high vibratorial states on Earth, or even go to completely different realms, or even back to certain parts of the Star Nations, or even create their own realms within God's mind. It's really what you're resonant with, because a lot of people here at this time have done all this before, and they're here to help humanity elevate themselves to go through it. So it's a really complex scenario that I hope I'm linearizing in a way that's digestible, because a lot of this stuff is really hard to get out of my head from the contacts and what I know. And again, people just make their own decisions with what I'm saying. I'm not going to ram it down your throat and go, this is the way it is, but I know what I know, and I can prove a lot, but there's a lot that I can't as well.
Yeah, what happens is kind of dovetailing what Peter was talking about. Things get psychometrized into the earth, and especially stone and metal, basements, things like that, really psychometrize energy. A lot of ancient temples have a lot of energy psychometrized into them that are built out of stone and things like that. And you can go pick up that energy, positive or negative. If you go to a place like Gettysburg, where there's a big war, or some big Native American battle area, where a lot of people were killed, you'll feel that energy. If you're sensitive, you're going to feel the energy. And when these huge energy bursts come in, like a massive solar flare, Schumann resonance is going off the scale, it's going to bring everything up. It's going to bring that energy up and out to be healed and cleared. And if you're in that area, you're going to feel that energy. But you can clear it yourself by doing these other techniques that we teach, and Peter teaches those as well. But it's more than one thing. If you have a major solar storm going on and a full moon and everything's lined up, I always tell people, just stay in. Don't go out and drive, don't interact with people, because, lunatic is a real science, and people become lunatics when there's a massive solar storm and the moon is full and all these other things. There's a science behind that. So,
yep.
A lot of times people ask me, they go, "Hey, let's go do this and this." And I go, "Hell no, I'm staying home. It's a full moon. There's a massive solar flare. And a lot of people are going to go bat-s crazy, out there right now. And you can watch, the hospitals get full, the jails get full, all this happens during these times, and your body is going to get hammered, and you're going to have emotional outbursts. You're going to have lethargic. You're going to go on these waves, and you're going to get really high, and then you're going to get really low, and you're going to feel these transitions, and the physical body is also trying to adjust, so it's going to have all kinds of ailments and things like that. It's important to meditate, take your shoes off, reground, get in touch with the changes in the Earth's frequency, drink a lot of fresh water, clear water, and lighten up on your food a little bit, and really get your meditation time in, and your prayer, and start creating the future you want to see. Don't live in the past, or, release the past, forgive, and move on to the next, create something else. Now you know what you don't want. Let's create something, what you really do want, and go from there. And that's what we need to do. And we're having a golden opportunity to do that. Literally, we are being bombed by these golden energies right now, and we're moving into the golden age, and we're going to have to take personal responsibility for, the people and things we've manifested into our life, and just release the past, forgive it, and try something else. Try creating a different world, a positive world, a more loving, more beneficial world.
Yeah. It's a huge thing. Like the last few weeks as well, we had an hour and a half long solar flare, I believe. We had at the same time a full moon and eclipse. You've got Atlas coming through plus others. Yeah. All those things on a space level weather is absolutely huge. But this is the thing, right? Just like with astrology, people will live their life by it. But what it is a template of maybe your emotions, what your life could be like. But what it is it's giving you a heads up. It doesn't mean you live within this framework. It's basically an opportunity to see these situations that are in your life and opportunity to elevate and ascend above the framework of the astrology that you've got. So there's definitely stuff to all this type of stuff, but it does come back to, like James was saying, like it's taking personal responsibility. You can't just say, because this is happening, the full moon's doing this, that, the other, and let it determine your life. You see it as a signpost of ways that you can navigate depending on what the sign is and the situation, but ascensions for all, and it's just up to us if we can take it.
We have a highway here. We call it Dodgeball Highway, and
I've been there. Is that in Hawaii? The road?
Yeah, it's in Hawaii, and unfortunately, a lot of people are like they got the thing, and a lot of elderly people here, and retired people, and a lot of people like to drink a lot and drive, and it's a very windy highway, and there's days you'll see that when you've got like a full moon and major solar activity and everything else, you'll drive into town, you'll see one car after another in the jungle with their taillights sticking out, people going off the road, a lot of people passing on curves that shouldn't be, and it is, you got to drive really defensively. And right now we really need to pay attention to our surroundings and be a little defensive on where we go and what we do and things like that. And might want to stay out of the bars, and stay out of the raves, and a few things like that, because there's all kinds of entities wanting to jump in, and, stay away from these negative events that are happening. There's a big bifurcation of worlds happening, and people are becoming polarized. And some people are on the downward spiral, and they're choosing the division, the separation game, againstness, all that stuff. Just don't participate in those things, and you'll be a lot better off, with what's coming down, with the energies coming in.
Oh, that's well said. That's really well said. Coley, did you have anything?
I was just going to say, I just really appreciate James and Peter both. You were talking about the fact that we all hold accountability in every decision and every choice that's made. It's like you can't blame one thing or another. It's always, I say, dynamic. It really is. I think the quicker that we can do this, the quicker we can kind of fast forward through some of this stuff. It's just sometimes it's so painful and excruciating to get through. It's like, but you're right. I mean, even in the most of those situations, there's accountability on all ends. I really believe that.
Yeah, I did a counseling this morning. It was really interesting with this woman, and she was saying, we did a counseling, and I can't go into details, but she had a lot of off-world lives and living in very advanced cultures and societies, and where they operate under universal law. People are all loving and caring and took care of each other and their environment, and she's down here just getting knocked back and forth and having to deal with all this nonsense and everything. And, she was really having a hard time dealing with it, as a lot of us are. And I go, you bought the e-ticket, you chose to come here to bring what to help this change coming. And you got to depersonalize what's happening right now and learn to say, not mine. This isn't mine. I'm not. And raise up out of it, raise your frequencies up out of it, and be an example to others, and bring in that knowledge that you have from those ancient lifetimes, or very highly spiritually and technologically advanced lifetimes. That's what you came to do, to bring that to the earth. And don't get caught up in. And she goes, well, I just don't belong here. And I go, well, true that, you really belong to a more advanced civilization, but you're down here, you bought the e-ticket and you came to help, and you just you can't take all this craziness personally. We knew we were going to go into end time madness. We knew all this was going to happen. And we chose to come in here and experience different things and so you can flip them rather than be a negative thing. Go, okay, I gained the wisdom from that experience. Now I have that in my tool belt, and now I can go on and help others and get on. And really, it's really hard, because a lot of people are going, I don't understand this. I just can't figure this out. And I go, no, you totally understand it. Sometimes you just can't believe how stupid things are. You're
so true.
You're fine. You do understand it, and it is happening. I mean, I've never ceased to amaze me what some people do, and I go, "My God, you're going to hurt yourself." You might want to slow down, and on this, and that's what the masters are doing. They're up there and they're going, "Oh no," and they're going, "No, left turn, don't go, don't do that," and we're not listening, and so we get hammered back on the path again. And that's just the way it works down here.
I like it, hammered back on the path again, because that's about what I mean.
We're always going to get back on the path. I mean, you can take a detour, but you're going to get smacked back on the path. It's just like the ranch. I did a bunch through synchronicity and everything else. I ended up at the ranch anyway. And, I found the ranch. I found it on a map. I circled where I was supposed to go. I had visions, everything. I threw in the map in the closet, forgot about it, and ended up at ECETI anyway. And so through a series of synchronistic things. But sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you always end up back on track. You'll have some diversions, and the universe will show you that, you're not on track, and so we really have to learn to let go of that, forgive and release the past, and recalibrate. It's like sin. Like I was saying before, sin's an archery term. You got a bunch of arrows in your quiver, if you miss one, so what? Keep trying, load again. You don't have some jealous, wrathful God with a laptop taking notes that's going to punish you. There's just action reaction down here. You know, if you really harm somebody, their relatives are going to come after you. You know, that's just the way it is. And so, you know, again, just be kind to each other, be kind to the planet, and do the best you can.
I agree. That cracked me up with a laptop. Keeping track. Yeah, right.
A laptop, a lightning bolt, and a laptop.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know,
jealous God. Yeah, he's gonna. Oh man,
well, there were jealous, wrathful gods, little g gods on the earth at times, and they were very. They were very advanced mentally and technologically, but spiritually backwards, and that's where you get the wrathful God from. It's in our history, you know, and it's a long story, but we've had some very bad experiences with some very advanced beings that were spiritually backwards in our ancient history.
That's a good point too. That just because they're not, you know, just because they're not more advanced in one area does not mean that they're advanced in them all. So that's a good way of putting that. People automatically assume.
Looks like we lost Peter.
Oh, we have Peter. He just popped back in. Real quick, there was a question. There's actually some that I'm holding here for just in a minute. But James, I thought this would be a good time to put this in here. Tell us about being that he the beings that he channeled for his life. I haven't gotten to read them yet. I want to.
Yeah, there's the main source was Ezekiel, which is an ascended version of Ezekiel that merged with Cassia, and they soul merged and ascended together. So it's actually both male and female. And I asked the Andromedans, you know, when I was trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing down here, they said you're the hands and feet of Ezekiel. And I went, what? You know, what is this? I go, who is Ezekiel? And they go, he's a seventh dimensional being. And they refer to him as the God of eternal bliss. But it's not really a he or a she. It's a merge of both energies. And it can appear to you as a male if you need it, or a female, and just give you this total loving feminine nurturing if you want, either way. And beautiful being, and knows all about the Earth's history and ancient past too as well. So that's where a lot of the information came from. It came through Ezekiel, but I mean, because I had the connection with Mary when I was a kid and was dying in the hospital, and she came and saved me. And then I had another near-death experience where she came in, and so it's a combination of the masters, and Ezekiel would be the key one. And our conference building there is called Ezekiel Hall that we use. But people go in there and just get all blissed out and start laughing for no reason. It's when we do Yigong and we teach classes there, it's kind of fun. But basically that's who we really are. Within each and every one of us, there's a god or goddess of eternal bliss. It's just a loving, joyous, powerful, manifesting god or goddess. That's our core nature. And then we have all these layers, you know, that we need to let go of, and wrong conclusions from past experience and traumas, and we have to get rid of to get back to that.
I like it. Peeling back the layers of an onion. That's what when we were in therapy, that was a big one.
Yeah.
Peeling back those layers. There's a lot of layers. Let me tell you, a lot of layers.
You think you're done, you know, you go, oh, that was intense, you know, and you go, oh. You go, you mean that was just a layer? That was just one layer?
Yeah, I know. Just one, when they just think we have how many more to go. But it's so true. And then, I say, you know, once people start getting on that path and they go down, I mean, the first layer is always the hardest. It really is. Sometimes in the middle, I mean, you got some along the way. But I mean, relatively, I mean, once you start really facing things and coming to that, you just have to be at a point you're ready to do that. Otherwise, nobody else can do that but yourself, or decide that but yourself.
Yeah. When I first opened up, I didn't have a teacher, really. I didn't have anybody I could talk to understand what was going on. I had inner teachers, like Yeshua was coming to me, and Babaji and White Eagle and some of the other masters were coming to me. And Jesus kept bringing me other beings saying, you got to go study. You got to go study Eastern thought, the Native Americans. You got to go with every culture and learn what their paths are and their methods and everything. And then I finally came to realize that, you know, basically we all have different names for God, Great Spirit, Creator, whatever you want to call it. And there's different levels of enlightenment, and they all have different names for that. But the bottom line is we all came from the same place, and we all return to the same place, and we're all family. And although we are diverse, that's we're the diverse family of God, basically. So that's what I realized. When you get past the seventh dimension, it's just pure love and joy and bliss. You don't have all this other nonsense going on. And that's really who we really are. Peter, you're popping in and out there.
Yeah, I didn't know if you all crashed. The whole thing went down on me. So I'm not sure something's going on.
That's what happened to me earlier, Peter. I had to log in from my phone. My computer was just kind of zapped. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like we're having issues.
Well, you know what? But the information coming through right now, they are not liking this, and you're going to have a little multidimensional computer warfare going on here. So it just comes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say you guys are like a breath of fresh air, with the concepts and everything that you guys bring forward. It's like it's always positive, and it's very enlightening, and it's really amazing. It's amazing stuff,
Yeah, it's kind of
agree more. Yeah,
it blows me away that the knowledge and information we have, and a lot of it's like years and years, lifetimes of experiences off world as well. We had full memory of all that, and it just blows me away that the level of censorship, even in the UFO community and the spiritual community, they don't talk, and it's sad that everybody has a piece of the pie and they think it's the whole piece. And they want to defend that piece, and everybody else is wrong. And it's just like, let's bring the whole pie out, and everybody, there's plenty of pie for everybody.
It's like an ego, James, right? It's like people can't seem to get over their ego or whatever.
It's the ego, and it's also the interference from these other levels we've been talking about. There's major, and a lot of people have they've sold their souls for fame and money, basically. And they have a different agenda going, and they're the controlled narrative, and they're in power right now. They're losing power. They're folding in on themselves. But I always tell people, they go, why don't you just go after this and take it down? I say, I don't have to do anything. It's taking itself down. I just have to stay aligned with the higher consciousness and energy. And a master teacher once said, he said, everything comes from and returns to the same point. And he said, be the point. Don't go out and fight and argue and deal with all the nonsense. Just stay anchored in your own personal connection with Creator. Be the point. And who gives a crap what other people think? It's just like, I'm good. I've died a couple times. I'm good with God and Creator. It's like, people come and they try to insult me, and I just go,
right.
I have a T-shirt that says, "I'm not your father. I'm not your mother. I'm not your ex-lover. I'm just sitting here." I'm just sitting here, and all these things are flying around, and attacks and rumors, and I just go, I really don't care. I don't care. They're establishing their character and their ignorance. It doesn't have anything to do with me. And so I just keep going. You're gonna take yourself out, basically. You don't have to do anything.
Good point.
It's easier said than done. I'll give you that. But to get to that point, James, that's phenomenal, because it really does. It's such a freeing experience.
Oh, you're getting pulled constantly. I know it happens to Peter too a lot. They're trying to yank us out of our center and get involved in all this petty nonsense and accusations and false accusations and weird stuff. It's just like, it's like Charlie Kirk 2.0, like they're twisting everything he said. But it's the same thing. It's the same energy. It's, there's elements, and there's people following those elements, and people in ignorance, and they're doing the bidding of the dark arts and that dark, and they don't even know they're doing it. And some are doing it self-righteously. They really think they're being guided by some higher force, but they're not, you know.
That's so true too. That's so true. So do you think that whatever this is seems to very much hate humanity? Everybody like, it just doesn't make sense. And I said, no, it really doesn't. And I guess until you understand, you know, exactly what you're dealing with, I guess in your and Peter's knowledge or in which, you know, what do you think exactly it is that we're dealing? What's pulling the strings on some of these people? What is creating this underlying like hatred just by simply like going out and living and walking your life without bothering somebody?
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Well, it comes back to what I said before. It's not human. It's demonic, archonic, reptilian, and this lower distorted frequency is what is perpetuating them to exist in the states that they are. It's resonant with them. It's like, it's the opposite. For us, when we're in harmony, you feel love, joy, bliss, but you're resonating with something that's at that frequency. Their frequency is distorted. And much of the interplaying between the realms has these portal points that are these distorted frequency that's a match for a lot of people and can be a trap for some people if they experience that, especially when they first pass. They can be in a state of chaos because they're not sure exactly what's going on. They don't remember what's going on yet. And this is why some people like Dr. Eben Alexander, The Proof of Heaven, the book that he did, the first thing he saw was like these murky, dark realm with these reptilian and grey type faces. All of a sudden, he had a thought to think about love, joy. Don't quote me here. There was terminology that he used specific in his book. But what happened was that realm didn't exist anymore because he wasn't resonant with it. So our first lot of traumas and things when we pass to the other side, it's actually a state of us judging our own selves. And it's getting past that we can tend to forgive other people, but depending on our own circumstances, it can be hard to forgive us. Now, because of this non-human intelligence, that at the highest of it is the fallen Elohim. Again, I work with the positive Elohim. They're the ones that you've got to think about how you deal with another human. You've got to throw all that out. You cannot reason. You cannot barter. You cannot compromise. So what happens is when this intelligence overlaps a human momentarily, you are not dealing with that person anymore. You cannot compromise. You cannot talk. You've got to go into a state of clearing and non-reaction and a state of observation. Now, depending on one's abilities, and again, James and I teach this, but you can blast things with energy. You can neutralize energies and uplift and bring in the source energy and lift up and basically fill up the vessels so this energy has to get pushed out. But when you go behind what's going on, going back into astrology, between that, the ley lines, and them knowing certain times that they can bring in satanic, demonic forces through rituals on certain dates and times that can also be used for positive energy, we're dealing with things where this is why certain grand finals and certain world events and Olympics and this, that, the other, everything is done with precision with the timing that it's done, and you can either anchor the dark energies or the light energies. You've just got to realize that as long as you're in the heart and you're doing what's the best for yourself, which in effect is the best for everyone else, because you've got to look after number one first, which means you can help others at 100% without being depleted. That's what matters, is doing what's best and what's right, not just for yourself, but also for all beings. Like James says, it should be good for everyone. If not, it's not good at all. But you can't compromise with these intelligences because there's no way that you can find common ground. And this ascension eventually will be for them as well at the highest extremities of what's going on down the track. And it could be a quick thing for them as well. But they've peaked with where they can with their intention. So because of their intention and their frequency, they might be able to do some things that seem like a master can do, which I call these guys the dark masters. But they haven't got full capabilities. So, again, anything I'm saying, I don't want you to believe me. I just want it to be food for thought. But this is when you're dealing with this. At the highest extremities of this is the fallen Elohim. Everything else is a foot soldier or a subcomponent of that energy that is feeding this energy to keep doing what it's doing within God's mind, because, as I say, I'm convinced that we're on a treadmill in God's mind going nowhere. That's where I'm at.
I like that. I like that.
Well,
I think you said something really important there, Peter. If you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
Yeah.
It's not selfish.
And, just as there's a negative side, there's a positive side. And there's an old saying, the mind in which you seek is the mind in which you connect.
Yep.
And so if you're a really negative person, you're going to connect to negative entities. And it's that simple. And so you got to raise your frequencies and think on loving, joyous, blissful thoughts. And then you're going to be in those higher realms. And don't let others pull you out of that, pull you off your center, your point that I was talking about earlier. But there's so much of that going on. And be honest with you, this dark side is having its, there's a can of whoop ass coming down on it. And that's creator, the real creator. And, God, creator, great spirit, whatever all the prophecies talk about this. It doesn't matter. Biblical prophecies, Hopi prophecies, all the Native American prophecies talk about this time we're in. And we're time where the wheat is going to be separated from the chaff, and those who are aligned with love and joy and bliss and the higher, are in service to each other and the planet. Those are the people that are going to make it through. And the people that are self-serving and negative, harmful to others, destroying the planet, that group is on a downward spiral, and they're going to lose everything. They're going to lose their kingdoms were built on ill-gotten gain. So there's a karmic backlash to that. And also too, their bodies, they're going to lose their temple, their bodies, because their bodies are going to collapse. They're not frequency specific to the ascension process. And we're in the middle of that right now. I mean, it's coming down, and you're really seeing people choosing one path or the other. There's a bifurcation of worlds happening, and there's no fencing anymore. There's no gray area. You gotta make a choice. And that's where we're at right now. People are choosing, are you gonna get on the light side of things, get on the upward spiral, or are you going to take the downward spiral and have to work your stuff out on some other realm or some other planet? Those are the options right now.
Yeah. I thought of coming back here and doing this all over again is enough, but man, oh man, it's been brutal.
A lot of us have friends and family in these other realms, and where a lot of us are ready to go home.
Oh yeah. If the thought of getting sucked back through here, and I you hear some. I guess what do you guys think? Because there's a lot of discussion over: do you go to the white light? Do you not go to the white light? The white light shoots you back on here, or do you guys? I mean, or do you even buy into any of that at all? I guess, James, you're probably having your near-death experiences and things. I know that you're very in tune to that.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, what is your insight on that?
Yeah, I had a lot of training in the past, and I had a lot of past lives as lamas and yogis and things like that. And, I did other things too. I was a road bandit and I was a beggar and stuff. People don't want to tell you about those lifetimes, but I've done everything. And what happened is when I had my near-death experience, the training really kicked in, and it activated. And I kept hearing, go, don't stop to talk. And I was going through the tunnel of light that everybody talks about. And there's all these levels and dimensions. And there's friends and family on them. And I kept hearing, don't stop. Don't keep going. And I went into that plane of pure love and joy and bliss. It's a golden white light of energy, of consciousness. And there's a greater consciousness surrounding you. But at that time, you're a light being, you're unique, but you're one with a greater light or a greater consciousness surrounding you. And that's where you want to go. And don't get hijacked along the way. Don't stop to talk, because and you can always come back. And so I left the door open. I can go back and forth to the other realms if I want to visit loved ones or other people. And, that's basically what we need to do. But a lot of people go to the brown light,
Go to the red strobing light. Yeah.
I don't know. There's a thing called brown noise, that Hitler created that makes you go to the bathroom.
Oh, I didn't know this. Now I do.
I don't think I'd go to the brown light.
No, stay away from the brown light at all costs.
They're playing the brown tone there. You're going to have a problem.
I tell you, with all of this stuff, it does get confusing, but you have to think it must be something if they're trying so hard to gain control of that narrative.
Well,
I would think of it.
There is a lot going. Like what I would say to add to what James said, because he didn't stop to talk. And what I've done when people pass and I'm with them, I say to them to follow the love, because when you're in contact with these beings and you hit that source frequency, a natural body reaction is that you will cry.
Yeah.
When I'm in the presence of these beings, it cannot be fake, the love, and your body just naturally cries. So what my advice is to people is, even if you see what are these constructs, because the way it's been put to me is, if you believe this stuff, you will experience it, and to bypass it, you follow the love, because you become a frequency match, which means everything else drops away and you hit that frequency James is talking about. It cannot be faked. It goes throughout every fiber of your being, whether it's physical or non-physical, and both, depending if it's a near death or if you're completely shedding this form and going into that light. But we're in a situation that this is a spiritual situation, a spiritual war, and it's not of the flesh, but as above, so below. It's affecting the flesh. And a lot of these people are unaware of these things, which is why we're seeing people carrying on the way that they are, very childish at certain times to us, but they don't know any different. They don't know the bigger picture. They know what they know. They've been educated a certain way. And because of that, you can't blame them to an extent. But this is where logic goes out the window, because they're not aware. And I quoted so many years ago, I was on a popular morning show here called Sunrise. And when I think a few million people watched it. And afterwards, I was very humbled. But first, I couldn't believe just the ridicule I went through, because I thought, by every meaning, I should look nuts. Because if what I'm saying is true, not only would they know about it, they would be taught about it. It would be in the media. So I had to pull myself back and have love and compassion for everyone, going, right, not to belittle them, but by all meaning, they should think this is all a load of crap, because if UFOs are real, they would actually know about it. So we've got to humble ourselves and pull ourselves back sometimes on the bigger situation, but we've also got to be examples, and it's a very fine line on how to do that without giving people an aneurysm.
I know Baba G told me something once. He goes, James, you got to stop watering seedlings with a fire hose. And, and I actually have fun doing that. I have fun. People want to argue, and people don't realize I light up, and I have fun. I have fun doing it. And I go, and at the end, if they get really negative or derogatory or whatever, I go, well, thank you for establishing your ignorance and your character. Have a nice day. And sometimes in the field, they try that. We'll be out in the field and it's dark and there's ships flying and everything, and they want to argue that they're satellites, and we have apps proving they're not satellites and everything else, and they're turning and doing all kinds of things, powering up, and the people still want to argue. And a lot of times in the field, I talk about that. I go, oh, look at that. I'll be one powering up. And I just walk away, and it's dark, and they're still arguing, but I don't need their acceptance and approval. I don't, they can't hook me. And so I just walk away, and I'm just laughing, and they're still arguing and talking, and I can hear them. And I'm like another, 30 yards away or something, doing something else, doing what I want to do. And, I don't have time for it. It's a waste of energy to me, but I don't let it pull me off my center. I just have fun with it. I go, oh, here's an opportunity to have fun.
That's good. You have a great sense of humor. You do, James. You really do. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the stuff he comes up with, I'm like, oh, I have to put it on mute. I'm back here in tears laughing. So not that, but yeah, definitely. That's amazing, and that really is. I mean, you guys have such a great way of looking at this, because not everybody can handle that. Not everybody can handle the pressure out there.
It's self-mastery. Like, even I can tell you now that at least 3-4 days a week, I wake up to being told how much of a piece of crap I am. The first thing I see when I go online, and that it's this, that, the other, and people don't know. And again, it takes me back to what I said before. I actually go back to that place of being humble, going, they just don't know. You know, I could try and respond to every person and prove my point, but then what's that going to do? They're where they're at, I'm where I'm at. But it lets you also have a reminder of why you're doing what you're doing. Yeah. That people need these places, people need this assistance, people need these points of people like ourselves, that whether it's, you know, that they're already awake or they're wanting assistance, and or they're aware of the coming times, or when the coming times come. This comes back to all of us being guides in physical form, and that's what chills me out and mellows me out. And just, you know, having it as a daily thing almost, it's something that's a very good reminder to keep you back, you know, grounded and humbled as well.
And my grandmother used to say, you know, you can't fix stupid, but you can choose not to be around it. You know?
Yeah.
And
Grandma was right.
Yeah, Grandma was right.
Grandma knew what she was talking about, huh?
Yeah, I had 2 grandmothers. One was Cherokee, and very, very loving, very wise, very. She gave me a book when I was a little kid about UFOs and everything, and I couldn't figure out why she gave me that book, you know. But then I started seeing them and everything. It was kind of interesting. And my other grandmother, she just died not too long ago, and she lived to be over 100. But she was sharp as a tack, all the way up till, and she was the matriarch of the area. She was the school teacher and everything else in Roswell, New Mexico. When they had that crash, the first responders came to her and talked to her about it. And they said, we have to tell somebody, you know, and they couldn't. These are good old boys, you know, salt of the earth. She said they couldn't even hold a coffee cup. They were shaken so bad for it from the experience. And they're going, you know, Edna, we're not alone. They go, of course we're not. And she goes, you know how vast the universe is? And she was talking them through it, you know, and said, of course we're not alone, you know, like what a small God, you know. And she talked them through it, and they felt really good afterwards. But it's funny how our family has a long history of being involved in the ufology and things like that. And you know, it really upsets your apple cart, you know, when you see a big ship fly over and it powers up and you feel the exchange of energy and you get this big bliss hit. You go, wow, I gotta rethink my whole reality here. You know, it's like a lot of people have lied to me, you know, about the bigger picture.
So true. It changes everything. It's at that moment. It's, you know, it's like I said, everything changed that moment I came in contact with the craft. I was 50 foot diameter, 30 feet away. And after that, there was no denying it. There was no like, oh, could that have been? No, it was right there, you know, right there in front of you.
I was, it's so funny at the ranch. There's 2 things people do. They say, what the F, or they say, oh my God, you know, one of the 2. And it's funny watching people react to it. And then they can't deny what they saw and what they experienced. And then that cracks the door, and then they want to find out more. And so they find out more, and they find out how to keep themselves clear and create sacred space and work with the benevolent ones and everything else. But it's so funny. I go, you know, a lot of people go, well, UFOs aren't in the Bible. And I go, which Bible are you reading? They're
exactly right.
Yeah, they're throughout the Bible. You know, that like in Ezekiel, there was a bronze ship. You know, like it had bronze feet like calves. It was a shiny disc. It had fire and brimstone coming out from underneath it. When it landed, it sounded like 1,000 rushing rivers. I mean, there's a whole excerpt in there about that whole event. And, you know, wheels within wheels with flashing lights all around them, the cherubim. If you go further into that was one of the origins of the wrathful God. But if you want to read the rest of that. But, you know, the enlightened ones went to the river Chabar and spoke to the lights that came down from the sky in the river Chabar. I mean, they talk about the sweet energies of the Pleiades and the sons of Arcturus and all that throughout the Bible, but people don't know what they're talking about because they don't know the real history of Earth. They don't know what really happened back in the day. And it's all throughout the Vedas. And, they talk about the craft and they're powered by red mercury. And they talk about the weapons on the craft and the great wars and elephants being seared, the flesh off of elephants. And, these stories, and you go dig up the area back there and it's radioactive right at that time period. Because there was a great war, just like the Gobi Desert and all the green glass. So if people get out of the superstition and really do the research and use their God-given brain, to figure things out, you're going to come up with a different story than you were told. We've been socially engineered, and we've got to break through that program.
Even with God appearing as a cloud by day or a pillar of cloud or fire by night, and when you go into the tabernacle, they're talking about God appearing as a cloud in the tabernacle. Well, that looks like an apparition, a ghost, or it could even be, as I've been saying for years, the crafts can go into an apparition state and land on you and reverberate with you and start to resonate, and you can start to appear on the craft. They can resonate you on board or even pull your consciousness out. And now you're going on board an actual ship that's just in that frequency. But the complexities of this, even with the dream state contact, like a lot of times they can be on the ship and project themselves down, another form of themselves, and they could actually be a light being. And really what you're getting in a glimpse of a lot of these ancient texts is that just described from the viewpoint at that time with what they had that we've been able to articulate in modern times. It's the same stuff. It's just different cultures explaining the same thing,
like Star Trek and what was the other one? Star Wars. Those are documentaries. There is a force. There's a good force and a bad force, a light force and a dark force, and we choose what we want to align ourselves with. It's really that simple. And the Creator's gone as you wish. Have fun with that. But one, you have blissful events, and the other one, you have some nasty events. It's up to us to choose, which way we go. And when we're done with that, we can return to the light and return to the higher levels, when we're done playing around with the other nonsense. But it is really true. I always wonder, I've done it. I've gone out of body and gone up on the ships and met feline beings and got a big hug from them and things like that. People are going to have their minds blown because these ships that are coming in now, they have little beings. They have little blue beings on them. They have tall beings, really tall beings. Some have giants on them, same as the inner Earth. They have humanoid beings and some beings that are humanoid, but they might be blue skinned like the past. They talk about the gods of the past are blue skinned because they're copper based. They're not iron based like we are. And so they have blue skin. The inner Earth, a lot of the inner Earth people are greenish blue tinge to them, And so people are going to freak out when, one of these big motherships land and they walk inside and see a giant octopus or squid bean or something like that. That's so far advanced that we can't even wrap our heads around. There's so much going on out there. And, there's light and dark happening, and you're either aligned with the force, the positive force, or you're aligned with the negative force. It's really that simple.
I agree. How are we going to keep these people calm? I'm like, I can't even imagine the response.
Popcorn.
Oh, Lord, popcorn.
A lot of popcorn. Enjoy the movie. I started laughing. It's people. When I'm doing a counseling, I watch people just explode and start bawling and laughing. They start bawling first and they're crying and then they're laughing. And I'm sitting there laughing too, and I'm smiling, and they're going, how can you smile at me? Like what I just went through, and I said, because I'm feeling the release. I'm feeling the release of all that crap off you. And I'm holding the frequency so you can have that experience, have that happen. And I said, why should I go down and go all this, like that's, I don't want to play there. That's your that's your release. It's like, I feel it. I do feel it being released and everything, but I don't hang on to it. But it's really interesting. People go, why are you laughing? I just went through hell. And I said, well, you got to go through hell to get to heaven. That's just the way it works. But it's kind of interesting and watching that. And that's what I see when you're really anchored in your own connection. All this stuff can be happening around you and you're not attached to it. And you don't even know whether it's good or bad. You can't tell because, it might be good, might be bad. You don't know, what's happening. It's like, everybody's experiencing what they need to experience. And right now we're really learning a lot to get back on track. If we're off track, of our ascension or our evolution or our awakening, whatever you want to call it, we're getting big lessons now to get back on track. And I think that's what's happening on a huge scale right now. Going back to the Charlie Kirk thing, everybody's reevaluating now globally, what's important in their life. And, and I tell people, they get really angry when I tell them ETs are MAGA. They go, what? And I go, yeah, they're make Earth great again. They follow universal law. Universal law is the Constitution. Basically, it's in our Constitution, and they really are aligned with universal law and things like that. And so, they're not tyrants. They're not Hitlers. They're not all these things we want to project on them. They're not here to turn us into human pilaf, and that's not going to happen. And that has happened in the past, but that game is closing out. They're being taken out. And, we need to get back into our love and joy and bliss and join the rest of the universe in peace and the greater family of man, because that's the opportunity we're being given right now. And, we don't need, I tell people, you have a car, I go, you don't need gas. And actually you can turn water into gas. You can turn water into gas, diesel, or jet fuel. And you also don't need tires because we have anti-counter-gravity as well. And you don't need all the hospitals and everything else because med beds, are coming in. You don't need all this stuff. How can you have poverty when you have replicators? These beings, they own the universe. The universe is their playground. And they're just having a great old time. And we could do the same thing on Earth. We have that opportunity right now to move into that. And the way we do it is to align ourselves with the higher dimensional beings and focus on universal law and create a space for them to come and join us, and help us to clean up the planet and heal ourselves and, clean up the environment and everything. They have everything. We need to turn this planet around. We just have to get past all the superstition, and the againstness. We got to make peace. We got to unify as a planet. And when we do that, we join the rest of the universe.
I like that. That's so true. And I know I want to thank both you and Peter for coming on. And too, before we get too far and make sure there's no questions that we left, but do you want to just tell everybody in the audience, Peter and James, what you got going on at the ranches? And I guess, any of the places James right now is in Hawaii and he's got the freshest coffee in the world, we hear. So we're looking forward to hearing about that. But would you tell him what, you got coming up for as far as events and services and things like that too?
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, so I've got at least 2 events a month happening at Jai Sanctuary. So I'm just northeast Victoria in Australia. Everything from remote viewing to self-mastery to ascension workshops, skywatch and initiating contact. And then I do the online appointments as well. And I'll probably have an online remote viewing course I'll do in January, which will probably be around the time that I might end up with James in Hawaii. We're just working that out now as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, right now we're kind of limited here in Hawaii because, it's a 7.5 acre ranch and it's a coffee ranch. And we're picking coffee like crazy right now, trying to stay ahead of it. And so that's basically what I'm focused on right now, but we're still doing counselings and workshops and we call them transpersonal release sessions, where we go through, past life trauma, childhood trauma, everything, clear the patterns out and hook people up with their star families and make their own connection with Creator. We're doing those still. And we're planning for the spring, to do a lot of workshops and classes. He said we don't have our list up yet. We're working on it. But, a lot of it's, basically a lot of it has to do with funding and participation. People need to really get off the fence, and get going with their own spiritual evolution and healing. We've noticed the last 2 years have been really slow at the ranch because of COVID and financial and all these other problems. And so we're just kind of hanging in there right now. But the Hawaii place here, we have like one bathroom and one shower. Basically, I'm working on another shower, getting it operational. And we have to put in some more bathrooms and things like that. So before we can really have guests here, we can do some sky watches and things like that here. And we are having a lot of ships fly right over the house. So if the sky's clear, they're coming in really low and coming in here at Hawaii too. But that's basically what we got going. If you go to the website, ECETI.org, you can find out what's happening there. And the books are all there too, as well as the workshops, the self-mastery workshops and ambassador training. And if you go to ECETI.org, everything's there. And your website, where do they go for your stuff?
Yeah, I've linked them all into one. So even the ECETIAustralia.org or Peter Maxwell Slattery will all go now to Jaya Sanctuary, which is the home to ECETI Australia. So that's Jaya, Jaya, sanctuary.com. And all the books, the movies, all information is there as well. So, yeah.
Like Jaya man.
Seems fitting for they're in
Hawaii. It's like the hang loose, everybody.
Yeah. So I was thinking you brought the Hawaii vibe tonight.
Yeah. It's
really like the surfer.
I love it here. It is a lot of hard work, but we do take a break on the weekends and go jump in the ocean, and there's dolphins and whales, and you're not supposed to swim with the dolphins, but they choose to swim with you, and you cannot get away from it. So that's the most stupidest rule I've ever heard, because 2 flips of their tail, they're gone. And if you're out there swimming and they're going, you're swimming with the dolphins, you don't have a choice. If they want to swim with you, they're going to swim with you. And if they don't like your energy, they're gone. It's that they're very telepathic, very, very enlightened. But
oh, are you going to get tickets now for the dolphins swim?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not swimming with them. They're swimming with me. Okay.
That's what I told them. I told them I identify as a dolphin. And if
there you go.
Dolphin, that you just broke federal law. And so I'm not swimming the dolphin. I am a dolphin.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I'm not a furry. I'm a fishy.
I don't know. Isn't the craziest thing? I remember when I was a lifeguard, they said one of the rules were no underwater breath holding. Now, how the hell are you going to get from one end of the pool to the other? Is what I would always say. There's no underwater breath holding. I was like,
no, so wait, you're supposed to breathe underwater? Is that?
Yeah, I guess so.
You can't hold your breath. They're actually supposed to breathe underwater. Okay,
the best part was listening to people trying to find this. And I said, you need to go to the pool association or somewhere else instead of making these rules up for yourself, because that's what's going on here. I mean, it was crazy. They're like, some people it's a liability issue. I said, it doesn't make any sense. Whatever way you look at this, just like, you can't go swimming with the dolphins are in there and you're not going to outswim them. I think your better tactic is to keep swimming with them. But yeah, it's crazy. This is like the craziness of the world today. That's for sure.
Well, a lot of it's that, I don't want to go political, but there's the libtards are making these rules.
Oh, yeah.
And they're so ridiculous.
That is exactly a rule right
we're
there.
protecting the dolphins, and they're virtue signaling and making all these things. And I go, do you actually know how stupid that rule is and how unenforceable it is? I mean, you have to stay 50 yards away from a dolphin. I go, where? I go, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And they want to swim with us. They want to hang out with us. And you're not going to stop them. Your little rule book and your little law, and no matter how many tickets you write, is not going to stop dolphins from swimming with humans. They love to swim.
I can't even believe this is saying it. I mean, don't know why I say can't believe this. I should say, like, it doesn't surprise me, but for real, where does it end? It's like one, after another. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't.
No, none of it does. The past administration, they're being undone. Almost all their laws and regulations they did, and all the funding and everything is being taken away, and they're just that whole DEI thing, everything.
Oh, yeah. They shouldn't even have monopoly money at this point.
No.
God.
Exactly.
They can take the wooden nickels. But yeah, again, I just, Rob, is there anything on your end and in closing? I mean, there's been this has been absolutely a phenomenal conversation, one that's definitely needed to happen, and really appreciate James and Peter, both of you being here and willing to do this. So it's absolutely great. And then
I want to post this one on YouTube and see if I get kicked off again.
Oh, you will. A better thing would be like, let me post this on YouTube and see how long it takes me to get kicked off again.
Yeah. Let me know. Post it on YouTube and then send me a link, and I'll say, well, I didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, you get some other. I've had this is the third one that I have going. Rob's gotten his second, so we're all there. Where these are the degenerates of YouTube right here on stage. Yeah.
They just apologize for kicking all the people off and everything. So supposedly they're going to change things. Facebook too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But YouTube just finally apologized and said, we're forced to do it. And so who knows what's going to happen.
Did they really say that, James? They really came out with it?
Yeah. Elon even posted it in the last 24 hours. Elon Musk even posted it.
Will we get our channels back?
Yeah. Supposedly
you might. It'd be good because, there was stuff that even me and James had that had hundreds of thousands of views and just all this material over the last, many years. Who knows how long it's been pulled down, like many other people like yourself. And apparently that's what they're doing, but I don't know if they've got it all sitting there still. They must have just made the channel blank, and hopefully everyone's videos and stuff are still sitting there.
I don't know if you might have to go through a process. You might have to like go through some kind of a process. Say, look, I was demonetized. I'm demanding my channels back or something. I don't know. Hopefully they just do it.
I got one of mine back. I was great. I got one of mine back. And the only thing that I had left on there, I mean, they took all the videos, they took all of my subscribers, were all the channels that I had subscribed to along the way or over the years. So then not only did it locked me in because I had subscribed to too many channels in because it wiped everything off the bat. I was like, yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to look into it. They did apologize. They said they're going to fix it. I don't know. I don't trust those guys.
Yeah, I don't trust them either.
Yeah.
They said they apologized. They said they were forced to do it and pressured to do it, and they're gonna start being free speech again. And X. I'm really doing a lot of stuff on X and Rumble right now are the main ones, in Telegram, and then As You Wish Talk Radio is on the BBS network. That's the big one. So.
On Saturday nights. Nights. What time? You tell them what time your show is, James, and on Rumble. I don't think we talked about that yet. It's a great show. Yes.
Yeah, Pacific Standard Time. It's 8 p.m. every Saturday night on Rumble, and it's ECETI Stargate on Rumble, and there's a lot of people in there. And I go in there and chat with people and tell bad jokes and
I think they're excellent. Your jokes are bad. Mine are horrible. So
I poke the line a lot. I just poke people and get them out of past judgment. It's kind of fun, but I have fun in there.
That's awesome. You do it too. You can tell. It's a great show. I definitely encourage everybody, if you have not seen it yet, to check it out. And to Peter and James, both on Facebook, if you're on X, over on X, that I've seen, they're continuously posting videos and pictures and evidence. I mean, they're pulling in and they're sharing their wisdom and their knowledge with everybody there. I mean, it's just absolutely great. Check James's show out on Saturday. He's in the comments. He's in there. I've seen him interact with people, so it's absolutely wonderful. Both of them do. They're both very wonderful people that are really put everything out there on the line. So I really appreciate the two of you. I really do.
All right. Thanks for all the work you're doing, Rob and Coley. Hang in there because it's going to get crazy. I don't think it gets
oh God.
But hang in there. We are going to make a shift. This whole thing is going to flip over. And I think with these big ships coming in and everything else, it's all gonna happen, pretty quick. Things are going to move really fast.
Is there anything, I know the people, especially the people, take cover from the people. Is there anything that you have for now that you want to leave the audience with? I guess in any parting words or words until you meet again?
Go ahead, Peter.
Just
let him go first.
Be your best self. That's all you can do. And you can always do better as well where you can, but just be the best you. Just be a good person, and that's just, enough of us doing that is all we need. People worry about, this person, my family, that person. They're not, they're not into this. They don't care about this, and it's like, well, are they good people? Yeah. Would they give the shirt off their back to help someone? Yeah. Well, that's all we need. It's just they're already there. It's just that, they're not into UFOs, this, that, the other, that's fine. But the simplistic thing is just being the best us that we can. Treat others how you want to be treated. And it comes back to the most simplistic thing. So I'll leave it on that note. But thank you to everyone for having me on as well. And James, it's been great doing this with James as well. Yeah. And keep doing the good work, everyone.
Yeah, we always say keep an open mind, loving heart, and pure intent. That's all you need to do to get through these times. And it's really funny because you're going to be shocked at how many people have seen ships, have had experiences, spiritual experiences, and everything else. And we're afraid to ask. We're afraid to talk about it. And a lot of times if they're having trouble talking, they don't want to talk about it. Just have fun watching them squirm, because the universe is going to back you up. The universe is going to back all of us up very quickly here. And, the days of denial are over, and we are going to join the rest of the universe, the greater family of man and the multidimensional, the beautiful many that are serving the one God. We're all going to be coming together. It's all going to unify here really shortly. And it's going to be interesting times. Some people are going to just totally bliss out and have a great time and an incredible experience. And some people are not, and that's their choice, basically.
That's very true. Very true. And thank you guys both again for coming on.
You too. Thanks for having us.
Yes. That's awesome. Oh, thank you. They're so wonderful. I always enjoy, especially together. It's great to see them both together.
Yeah, that was an amazing show. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Is there any housekeeping that you need to think of that we need to take care of before we wrap up tonight's show?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, I just did something there real quick. Let me get out of here. I just bumped something. I guess on behalf of SNX Radio, Coley, and Typical Skeptic Podcast, Rob, and together we have Truth Serum Podcast, TSP. Thank you for taking the journey into the unknown, and we will be seeing you guys all this weekend.
Good night, guys.